November is Caregivers Month, and this episode is part of a conversation that matters deeply. A time to recognize the invisible work and the endless heart poured into caregiving. Today, we bring together two voices to help us understand that journey in a fuller, richer way. Welcome back to the Anatomy of Life podcast, where we delve into the elements that shape our existence. This is your audio guide to the building blocks of your life: relationships, community, purpose, your mind, body, and everything in between. Because at the core of it all is health, the foundation that shapes how we live, grow, and thrive. Today, we are going to hear from a mother raising a child with autism, and she comes to us not only as a parent, but as a caregiver and an advocate, and a woman that is navigating the daily realities of balancing love, resilience, and her own well-being. Her story is raw, powerful, and a reminder of the unseen strength caregivers carry every single day. And alongside her, we're joined by a psychologist who has dedicated her work to supporting children with special needs and the families who love them. They bring both expertise and heart, helping us see how a diagnosis ripples through every part of life: relationships and health and identity. And they offer tools that help parents find resilience in the midst of it all. Together, their voices weave a story of truth, insight, and recognition, one that honors the caregivers who too often go unseen, and they remind us that their health and their wholeness matter too. Joining us today is someone who has spent time walking alongside families of children with special needs, offering not only clinical expertise, but compassion and perspective. As a psychologist, Gael's work reaches far beyond therapy rooms. It touches the everyday lives of parents, learning to navigate diagnosis, redefine family rhythms, and finding resilience in unexpected places. Gael brings the professional lens that helps us understand the emotional, relational, and health impact of caregiving and the human heart that reminds us we're never alone in the journey. Gael, it is such a pleasure to have you on the Anatomy of Life podcast. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit with me and talk about a topic that's not really talked about.
Thank you so much, Lexi, for having me on your podcast. I'm really happy to be here and to have this conversation with you.
I want to start with what first drew you into working with children with special needs. Was there a story or a moment that set you on this path?
So, I've always been someone who naturally listens with empathy and tries to offer the right kind of support, whether it's giving advice, helping out, or just being there to listen. That side of me is really what pushed me towards psychology because I wanted to better learn how to help in meaningful ways and make a real difference. So, when I started my internships, I began working directly with individuals and families. Everything just clicked. I felt like this is where I'm meant to be. So there isn't one specific story that set me on this path. It's more like a collection of moments. Every child I've worked with, every family I've supported, every adult I've listened to has left a positive mark on me. Seeing even small improvements or moments of connection reminded me why I love what I do and made me even more passionate about my work.
When you meet a family for the first time, what do you notice first? Not clinically, but human to human.
I usually notice the emotional tone in the room. So, the body language, the tension, the level of hope, or the level of worry the parents are carrying. Many families come in already exhausted from trying to find answers or from hearing so many different opinions. Some walk in anxious or even defensive because they've been judged or misunderstood before, maybe by teachers, maybe relatives, or even other professionals. You can feel that weight the moment they sit down. So, before I think clinically, I focus on building trust and helping them feel at ease. Sometimes that means just listening, letting them share their story without rushing to analyze or giving them an advice. I want them to feel safe, understood, and seen, not only as parents of child with special needs, but also as people who are doing their absolute best. Once that a human connection is there, everything else, the therapy, the strategies, even the progress, becomes much easier and more meaningful. Because when parents feel heard and supported, they open up, they ask questions, and they start to believe again that things can get better. And that shift in mindset is often where the real change begins.
What I love about this part is how she brings it back to the human before the diagnosis, before the therapy. It's about being seen. And that's something that every caregiver craves, a moment to exhale and feel understood.
A practical takeaway: if you're a parent meeting a professional for the first time, it's okay to say, I just need you to listen to me before giving me any advice. And that helps both sides to connect better and helps the parent feel heard before even we start this giving advice.
What emotional waves do you see parents move through when their child is first diagnosed?
So it's rarely just one emotion, it's
Mm.
more like a roller coaster. There's shock, a lot of times denial, sadness, guilt, and sometimes even relief. Relief because finally there is a reason behind the challenges they've been seeing. They
Yeah.
can put a name to it, and that helps them start making sense of things.
Now, if you've ever been through a diagnosis, you'll know it's never just one emotion, it's waves. And sometimes, as Gail said, acceptance isn't an endpoint, it's a rhythm that keeps changing.
Denial, though, is something I see very often, and it's completely human. It's the mind's way of protecting itself from pain. So parents might think maybe the doctor is wrong, or maybe my child will catch up later. It's not that they don't care, it's that they're not ready yet to face what this really means. I always remind families that denial doesn't make them bad parents, it's part of the process. It just takes time and gentle guidance to move from that stage towards understanding and action. Also, many parents grieve the idea of the child they imagined, so the expectations they had for how things would look or feel. And especially in our Arab cultures, there's often that added worry of social stigma. So, what will people say? Or how will others treat me? Or how will others treat my child? That adds another layer of pressure and sometimes keep families in denial a bit longer because accepting the diagnosis means also facing those emotional or social fears. So, over time, though, and with the right guidance and support, most parents reach acceptance and empowerment. That's when they shift from the mindset of why us to what can I do to help my child. And that's when real growth starts, not just for the child, but for the whole family. Another tip that I would like to give parents: always remember emotions will come and go, and that's okay. Acceptance isn't a one time event, it's a journey. So allow yourself to feel before rushing into fixing mode.
What makes the difference for families in those early days of diagnosis that could possibly help them cope? And also, what can make it harder?
What really helps is having the right support early on, as soon as the families receive the diagnosis.
Mm.
When they're surrounded by professionals who guide them with empathy, give them clear information, and don't leave them to figure things out alone. Everything becomes easier. Some professional we see, they just tell them, yeah, your child has autism and you need to do occupational therapy, speech therapy, and that's it. They don't
Mm.
guide them, they don't give them enough information. They're new to this, they don't know where to go, they don't know any centers, they know nothing. So when those professionals, to begin with, they hear them with empathy and they give them clear information, this is where we start,
Mm.
and then being connected to other parents or a supportive community who've been through similar experiences also make a big difference and help them cope much better. For me as a professional, my role isn't just to work directly with the child, it's also to support and guide the parents. I help them understand what to do at home, when to seek input from other specialists. And I also make sure that I have space, or I also offer them space to ask questions and share concerns. Because, yes, I might see the child 3 times a week, for example, but most of their learning and growth happen with their parents at home. So, on the other hand, what makes things harder first is isolation. When
Yeah.
parents feel like they're the only ones going through it, it becomes emotionally draining. That's why I always encourage them to connect with others, whether it's through support groups, therapy centers, or even just one family who understand or who has been going through the same thing. Knowing you're not alone changes everything. The other challenge is information overload. Families get advice from everywhere: relatives, social media, and sometimes even professionals who don't agree with each other. It becomes confusing and overwhelming. So I tell parents, find the right balance. Listen and ask questions, but also choose a small circle of professionals you trust and stick with that plan. Focus on progress and not perfection, and take it one step at a time. Remember that every small step forward is still progress. Don't compare your journey to anyone else's. Every child moves at their own pace, and that's perfectly okay.
So,
Yeah.
what misconceptions about autism do you often find yourself correcting?
One of the biggest misconceptions I hear is that autism has a single clear cause. And recently, there's been talk about using Tylenol during pregnancy that it causes autism, but research doesn't support that.
Mm,
Yes, some studies found a small association,
yeah,
but there's no solid scientific evidence showing that Tylenol or any other factor actually causes autism.
yeah.
What we do know is that autism is complex. It's influenced by a mix of genetic, neurological, and environmental factors, and we still don't fully understand how they interact together. Unfortunately, this kind of misinformation can cause a lot of guilt and anxiety for parents, especially mothers who start questioning every little thing they did during pregnancy.
Mm.
That's why it's so important not to spread false or oversimplified information. So instead of looking for blame, our focus should be on understanding each child's needs and giving them the right support early on. Another misconception is assuming all children on the autism spectrum behave the same way. Autism is a spectrum, which means it looks very different from one person to another. Some children might have strong language and social skills, but struggle with flexibility or sensory sensitivities. While others, they might have more communication challenges, but show incredible memory or focus in specific areas. So there isn't one type of autism, it's a wide range of abilities, needs, and ways of thinking. So I often explain to parents that it's not about changing the child, it's
Mm.
about understanding how those children experience the world and
Yeah.
adjusting our environment, the environment overall, and our expectations to support them. Once parents shift that mindset, everything changes. They begin to see their child's strengths, not just the challenges.
How does a diagnosis impact the parent's identity and their relationship with their child?
For many parents, the diagnosis can completely shake their sense of identity. They go from being just a parent to become therapists, advocates, educators. It's quite a lot for them. And sometimes that pressure makes them lose the joy in simply being with their child. For example, I often see parents turn every interaction into a learning moment. Every playtime becomes a therapy session. Every walk becomes a chance to practice a goal. And yes, while that comes from love and from dedication, it can also create stress for both the parent and the child.
Mm.
So I often remind them that they're still mom and dad. Their relationship with their kids should come before any therapy goals. When parents reconnect emotionally through play, laughter, or maybe just small shared routines like reading a story together or maybe cooking side by side, their bonds strengthen and progress flows naturally.
And what shifts do you see in marriages or sibling dynamics after a diagnosis?
It definitely changes family dynamics. For some couples, it brings them closer together. They learn to communicate better, share responsibilities, and really function as a team. But for others, it can bring a lot of stress and misunderstanding, especially when one parent becomes more involved in therapy or daily routines than the other. Sometimes one parent focuses entirely on the child's need, while the other feels left out or unsure how to help.
Mm.
So I often remind couples that both roles are important, whether it's offering hand on support or providing emotional balance for the family. And then they need to support each other first before supporting the child.
Caregiving doesn't happen in isolation. It lives inside families. And the diagnosis reshapes marriages, siblings, Sunday mornings, and what it means to be a parent. So listen to how Gael breaks this down with such empathy and clarity.
And of course, siblings are also affected. Some they become very productive and mature too quickly, while others might feel jealous, ignored, or confused even about why their brother or sister gets so much attention. So I always encourage families to talk openly about it, explain things in a way that makes sense for each child's age, and allow them to share their feelings without judgment. Even, simple, unintentional moments go a long way. So, small gestures like spending short one on one time with a sibling or involving them in simple activities with their brother or sister can make a huge difference. It helps keep that sense of connection and balance within the family. And here, I would like to give families, whether they have kids with special needs or they just want to strengthen this family dynamic, I would like to give them 4 practical tips on how to improve the family dynamic overall. So, we have something called the special 10 minutes rule. You set aside 10 minutes a day for a few times a week of uninterrupted one on one time with each sibling. So, no phones, no interruptions, even no mention of their brother or sister's need or what they did, just purely them. It could be reading together, playing a quick game, or even folding laundry while chatting. What matters is they feel seen individually. So just them, 10 minutes a day for a few times a week, it really goes a long way. My next tip would be use simple and honest explanations. So, when siblings are asking questions like, why does my brother scream? Or why doesn't my sister talk? Use always short and concrete explanations that fit their age. Maybe you can say his brain works differently. It helps them or it helps him in some things, but make things a lot harder. So that's why he needs a little bit more help. So avoid oversharing with details. Kids just need clarity as why this is happening. They don't need complexity.
Yeah.
And always be honest with them. Don't lie to them. Don't give them false information. Be honest. My third tip would be giving siblings a positive role, not a caretaker role. So invite siblings to help in small, age appropriate ways. For example, handing over a toy to their sibling who has special needs, or maybe choosing a snack, or showing a gesture that the other sibling likes. But make sure they're not turned into mini therapists or babysitters. So, for example, instead of saying, go teach your brother or your sister how to play this game, you can tell them, do you want to show them how to play this game? Or do you want to play it first and then they can learn? Instead of telling them go teach
Yeah.
your brother or go do it for them.
Yeah.
My fourth tip is to create family rituals that include everyone, so both parents and the kids. You can plan weekly family moments that fit all abilities. So, for example, a movie night with flexible rules, or a simple cooking activity that everyone can do, or maybe a short walk. These predictable routines strengthen belonging and balance family attention while helping all feel connected or reconnected.
Caregivers often put themselves last. My own mom's a caregiver, and I've seen that self forgetting firsthand. Now, what Gael shares next is a gentle reminder that caring for yourself is part of caring for them. My mom's a caregiver, but not of a special needs person, but of my grandmother. And I see this firsthand is that my mom often puts herself last. And so, what are the signs of burnout you encourage parents to watch for?
So, burnout doesn't always look dramatic. It
Mm.
can show up in quieter ways, like, for example, constant tiredness or irritability or feeling emotionally disconnected. It's like you've been running on empty for so long that even small challenges feel overwhelming. Others notice they're losing their patience more quickly, or they struggle to feel joy in moments with their children. I like to remind parents that caring for themselves is actually part of caring for their child. A parent who's exhausted, stressed, or emotionally drained simply cannot provide the same quality of support, patience, or presence that their child needs. Self care isn't selfish, it's necessary. Even small acts like taking a short walk, enjoying a cup of coffee in peace, or talking to a friend for a few minutes can recharge their energy and help them show up fully for their child.
So, if a parent says, I don't have time for self care, what's one small step you guide them toward the self care?
I always say start with something that fits your real life. It
Mm.
doesn't have to be a spa day. It could
Yeah.
be drinking your coffee in peace before the day starts, taking a short walk, or even spending 5 minutes doing something that helps you feel grounded. For example, listening to music, maybe journaling, maybe just sitting on a balcony and looking at the scenery in front of you. It depends on every individual and what actually fits into their life. Maybe some people they cannot go for a walk or they cannot go work out. So let's find something that actually fits in their life.
Yeah.
I also remind parents that self care doesn't always mean being alone. Sometimes you could be spending time with another adult or maybe doing something fun with your child. For example, reading a book together, cooking a simple meal, or just playing without focusing on therapy goals.
Mm.
Another really important strategy is connecting with someone you trust, a friend, a family member, or another parent, just to talk about anything. It doesn't have to be talking about your child or the challenges that he's facing or she's facing. Studies show that talking to someone who listens without judgment can reduce stress, increase resilience, and improve your mood. So, the main point is consistency, not length of time. Even small intentional moments, whether alone or with another person, can help you recharge your energy and feel more balanced, patient, and emotionally available.
And so we did speak about community in the beginning of this. How important are community and support networks? And where do you suggest parents begin if they feel isolated?
I really can't stress enough how important community and support networks are, especially here in Qatar.
Mm.
Many families live away from their extended relatives, and it can be very isolating when you're trying to navigate your child's diagnosis or daily challenges on your own. Feeling understood and supported truly makes a difference in how families cope and stay hopeful. I always encourage parents to start small. Connect with other families who are going through similar experiences. It could be joining a local support group, maybe chatting with other parents that you see at school or at the therapy centers, or even find online communities either on Facebook or on LinkedIn. Sometimes just hearing someone say, I've been there too, can take away so much from the heaviness. Support doesn't have to be always formal or structured. It can be with one friendship that feels safe and genuine. Even small, consistent connections like that can make families feel less alone, more confident, and reminded that they don't have to go through this journey by themselves.
If you could send one message to caregivers of special needs individuals or just caregivers overall, what words of hope or guidance would you share?
I would like to tell all caregivers that you're doing more than you realize. Some days it might feel like nothing is changing, like all your effort is invisible. But every bit of consistency, every moment of love and patience is shaping your child's future in ways you might never see. Even on the hardest days, the care and dedication you show matter more than you think. I always remind parents that they are the true experts in their child's life. They live it, they see it, and they go through challenges that we therapists might not even witness during sessions or at school. So trust yourself and trust the effort you're making. It counts, even if it doesn't feel like it.
I love how she reminds us that support doesn't have to come from big organizations or even perfect systems. Sometimes it's just that one friendship that feels totally safe, and that's community. And for caregivers, that can be everything.
Take it one step at a time, and remember, you are not alone. There is help, there is community, and there's always hope. Even in the most challenging moments, the love and connection you have with your child is the best and most powerful thing you can offer.
Now, we've heard from the professional who walks beside the families. Now, we hear from a mother walking that road herself. Navash's story is the heartbeat of this episode. Raw, real, and filled with love. She takes us inside her world of caregiving, advocacy, and motherhood. Today, we're honored to welcome a voice that represents thousands of unsung heroes, mothers raising children with autism. The guest here today is not only a parent, but a caregiver, an advocate, and a woman navigating the daily realities that come with balancing love, resilience, and self care. Navash, welcome to the Anatomy of Life podcast, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hi, morning, Lexi. Thank you so much for having me, and a big hi to all your listeners as well. It's great to be here. And
Thank
yeah, I'm hoping to shed some light in my sphere
you.
of life.
I just want the listeners to know who you are. Tell us where you're from in the world and how did we get onto this podcast today?
So I hail from beautiful South Africa, province Johannesburg, or Gauteng, as people would know it. And we immigrated to Qatar about 3 years ago. My husband received a job on the side, and that's when we moved over. I must say it was a bit of a daunting experience, not knowing
Mm,
what to expect.
yeah.
But so far, it's been absolutely wonderful. New faces, learned so much about this culture and about this country, and it's been lovely. And yes, how did we meet?
Yes.
We met, I think our fate was destined.
Yes, I
Um,
believe so.
we met at a wonderful South African Women's Day that was hosted here in Qatar by a group of dynamic ladies. And yeah, I think friendships just built from there. And it was just so good to connect and learn everyone's backgrounds and different spheres of their own lives.
And so Navash is talking about a really, like you said, a dynamic group. And both you and I are both from Gauteng, Johannesburg, and people call it the city of gold. But we connected out here in Doha. We both live here, and we were at this Women's Day event, and it was so lovely. And we've now created our own little group from that, and we have just a beautiful community of not only South Africans. Seem to think we're going to delve into international groups around Doha, which is amazing for all of
Which is
us.
true.
Yeah.
Very true.
But there's something so special about you, Navash, and that's why I got you on this podcast, is because in November, it's going to be Caregivers Month. And I know from not personal experience, but I watch my mom, who is a caregiver of my grandmother. And it is one of the hardest jobs, besides just being a mom, it is one of the hardest jobs. It's an unpaid job. And it's it can be very taxing. And there's something so special about you, Navash. That is that you have a child that has autism.
Yes.
So, if someone met you for the first time, how would you want them to see you? Not just as a mom, but as the whole you.
So, as much as I am a mom and a caregiver, I'm also my own person, a
Mm,
woman that has to wear many different crowns. I'm a wife, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a niece, and a friend. And just like so many other women and individuals out there, I too have my own aspirations and dreams for the future, some of which I have been able to attain, and some of which I'm still working towards.
yeah.
I love to be seen as someone that is compassionate and understanding, patient and kind, someone that's always trying to lend a helping hand to those in need, despite all the personal challenges that I may face behind closed doors. And believe you me, it is
Mm.
plenty when
Yes.
you're raising a special needs child. So
Yes.
I think I always live by these words: do good, be good, and your blessings will always follow.
Wow. And you really do.
Yeah.
You do. Yeah. But you really do live that life. I've met you and I've been honored to share space with you, and you definitely do live
Thank
that.
you.
Paint us a picture of a day in your world, and what does a typical day look like with you and with your child?
I think most special needs moms and caregivers would agree with me when I tell you it is a long and challenging day. So with neurotypical kids, they find it easier to navigate their daily tasks. But with
Hmm.
neurodivergent or autistic kids, direction and assistance is sometimes required, to
Yeah.
help them navigate their day.
Can you tell us what the difference is between the neurotypical and the neurodivergent?
Yes, sure. So, a neurotypical basically describes someone whose brain functions and develops according to society's perceived norms, while
Mm.
a neurodivergent person or child refers to individuals with neurological differences such as autism or ADHD. So, their brain literally works differently and they perceive the world as different. So things that you and I would take as a normal way of living is something that they find hard to grasp. That's basically how it works.
And
Yeah.
can you take us to the moment you first noticed something different in your child? What was that like for you?
So, ooh, it's really digging up the past. So, we noticed that my daughter did not hit her developmental milestones that most kids would as their various stages. She was late to crawl, she was late to walk, but the most concerning was she did not speak. I mean, she would do the oohs and the ahs, but not actual words. I remember telling my mom-in-law about, my concerns, and she reassured me that it's going to be fine because my husband also had a speech delay and he only started speaking around 2 years old. I thought,
Wow.
okay, then maybe I'm stressing about nothing and my daughter just needs time. And each child develops differently. But then, after a few more months, this worry slowly started creeping in again. So my hubby and I decided, okay, it's time we take her to the ped. And the ped examined her and noticed that, you know what, she's got a little bit of fluid buildup in her ears and suggested that we insert grommets. We discussed her speech delay, and then he advised us that it could be due to having difficulty in hearing our words and our pronunciation because of the fluid buildup in his ears. So he said, we said, fine, we're going to go ahead with the grommets procedure. And he also then suggested, okay, you know what, parents, I think you need to go and just also do a speech and hearing test on her,
Oh,
which we
wow.
did and did a formal testing. And oh my gosh, I remember she refused to sit still in that hearing booth, but somehow we managed to get through the test.
Yeah.
And all the tests came back fine. Once the grommets were inserted, once she did a hearing test, all of this came out fine. And I remember saying to myself, okay, medically everything is fine.
Mm.
Maybe it's just time that she attends a nursery school to interact with other kiddies her age, which will maybe boost her confidence and
Yeah.
help her be more vocal. Because, I
Mm.
mean, she was our little girl that we mollycoddled, that we just wanted
Mm.
to keep in a little bubble.
Of
Whereas my son was the little bit more rough and tumbled one, so it was okay to send him earlier to school. And so we just wanted to create a good space for her at home. But obviously, we decided no. We were still very hesitant, but we said, okay, no, it's fine. Let's send her to school. And that
Yeah.
was in April 2017. We enrolled her at a lovely nursery school, and she did quite well in certain aspects, but still, there was no speech.
Wow.
And that was now causing a bit of alarm bells to go off in our heads.
Of
We had a
course.
one on one meeting with her principal, whom also shared the same concern about certain parts of her development as well as her speech. And that's when we knew, okay, something is
Something's not. Yeah.
definitely wrong. Lex, just to take you a bit back to your second question about what a typical day look like with a child with special needs. As much as I explained a neurotypical child and them being able
Neurodivergent.
to navigate their
Mm.
daily task and not the same with the neurodivergent child, an autistic child faces many challenges in terms of their mental state of mind as well as emotional challenges. So, not every day goes as planned and not every day is the same. So,
Yeah.
my daughter has both her good days and then as well as the bad days. In order to help my daughter, we have created daily routine boards at home. So my home
Oh,
doesn't have pictures of our family photos. My home
oh,
literally has routine boards all over to navigate the day. These boards have been designed from the time she gets up in the morning till the time she goes to bed at night. We've split the routine boards up into three sections: a morning
mm,
routine, an after school routine, and an evening routine. Because I do feel that setting a daily routine creates for her, as well as it decreases the feeling of being overwhelmed and anxiety. A typical school day in our life starts off with her following her morning routine board to help her get ready for school. This board
mm,
entails tasks such as brushing her teeth, having a bath, dressing into her school clothes, eating her breakfast, and packing her school bag. And
mm.
then once she's done all of that, we get ready and then off to school we go. So once I've dropped off at school, then I get down to my daily tasks such as chores and the grocery store runs and then prepping the work that I'd like to do with her when she gets back from school.
What would it look like on a day where the breakfast, because the morning routine, I would
Yes,
imagine, is the most important routine in order
yes,
for the rest of the day to almost flow systematically so
yes.
that she doesn't get overwhelmed. And what happens when that doesn't go to plan?
We have meltdowns at times, we have tantrums. It could be different things that would trigger
Mm.
her. It
And
could,
would she still go to school on the
yes,
days that,
she would, but it just takes a bit longer to get ready in the mornings.
and the
Um,
school knows about her special needs and they understand
yes,
that? Because I imagine sometimes you can't always be on time for school. And I remember in our day, we used to get really moaned at if we were late for school. You know?
definitely. So
Yeah.
she is enrolled in a special needs school. It is a wonderful special needs school that cater for kids with autism and ADHD
What?
and developmental delays. So they are so well equipped in
Mm,
dealing with these kids.
mm,
And they work with the kids in terms of their emotions and how to help regulate it and to help them get back on track. So on a
fantastic.
morning where she's having a really tough morning, I shame. It takes a bit
Yeah.
longer, but we still get through the task. I still try and reinforce it, but it just takes a lot longer. And then once she's in school, she gets right back into it because she loves school. She loves friends. She loves a teacher.
Oh,
So school plays a huge role in her life and creating that sort of routine and balance for her. So that's the morning. And then, well, her after school routine board, we also have one like that, which entail tasks like emptying her school bag, taking out her box, changing out from her school clothes, washing her hands, to all instill a bit of independence, self responsibility. Then she has her afternoon a snack, and then she gets ready for her homework. Because I do homework with her,
yeah.
as well as some speech and OT activities. And then it's her playtime and free time.
And how old is she at the moment?
She's 11.
Wow, you almost have a teenager, Navash.
Almost
You all
teenager
teacher.
years, and as much as she has this neurological condition, I
Mm.
promise you there is times that she really acts out as a teenager. She is a feisty little girl that
Good.
has a mind of her own. And then towards our late afternoon we follow another evening routine board, and that board is just, so it's my wind down time around
Of
that time.
course. That's good to
Yeah,
know. At least you are having some of that downtime. You do need it because, like I say, caregiving is relentless. It's ongoing. It's 24/7. So when you can
it
get
is.
just a half an hour to yourself, it is important that you get that. And take us through her diagnosis. You touched on getting the grommets in and getting into speech therapy, but what do you remember most about the day you received your daughter's autism diagnosis?
Oh, it was. That
Emotional day.
was a difficult, very difficult time. So it was actually her school principal that advised us after we had the one on one discussion with her and she raised her concerns in terms of her development. She then advised us to see an occupational therapist as well
Okay.
as a speech therapist. So off my hubby and I went with my daughter to see the OT, and a day later, we went to see a speech therapist. The speech therapist, and I remember this so clearly, the speech therapist did her assessment And then after the assessment, she asked her receptionist, to watch my daughter while she quickly has a chat with her dad and I. And the therapist called us into her office. She sat us down, and then she laid out her concerns from the assessment that she conducted. And then she says to me, and I remember her saying this, I suspect your daughter has autism. And my world just went.
That moment, when the word autism enters the room, it changes everything. The silence after the diagnosis is something so many parents know too well.
Everything around me just faded. And she says, however, only a neurodevelopmental pediatrician could give us a clinical diagnosis because she wasn't allowed to diagnose. And I was in absolute silence and in complete denial. I mean, this couldn't be happening to my child. I always envisioned having this family. I had my pigeon pair, my boy and my girl, and we were going to live this fulfilled life. And we had so many things planned. And the day my daughter was born, my husband said, oh my, I'm going to walk her down the aisle one day, and I'm going to see her graduate, and she's going to be driving a car. And all of these dreams just blew up because we didn't know what to expect. I mean, at that time, we were not so informed about autism. We had no knowledge about it and what it entailed. And all I could say to the therapist was, okay, is this something that can be remedied through medication? And she says, medication helps, but it doesn't remedy what, her condition as such. There's no fix. Like if you have a cold, you take antibiotics, you take cold medicine, and then you are cured, you're fine. But you take medication to help her navigate and manage her days. So then on the 14th of December, after all the shock, my hubby and I went for my daughter's appointment with the neurodevelopmental ped. And after 2 hours of assessment, my daughter was officially diagnosed with both autism and ADHD. And I sat there in complete disbelief, still thinking that this diagnosis is absolutely wrong. This cannot be. She's just delayed in her development. She just maybe needs more time. I tell you, it was the most darkest time in our lives because for the first time, it was something that we didn't have a solution or a remedy for. I mean, I took her thereafter. I just couldn't believe this neuropede. I took her for 5 to 6 other appointments just to get the second, third, fourth, fifth opinion. Somebody's going to tell me something different, and was not the case. Ariana, my little girl, was definitely diagnosed with this, and we had to then knock down and decide how were we going to handle this in terms of a family. And everything changes at that point. Perceived to be the norm of having kids and watching them go to school and graduating from university and finding their own jobs and getting their license. All of that was not going to happen at this point because that's how I felt. I felt broken. That was
That was the day.
just
And how
felt
did
that.
that thank you for sharing that because it's so vulnerable and it obviously, like you were saying, it changes your perspective on what her life will look like. But and how did that diagnosis shift the way you saw Ariana and yourself as a parent?
As being very fragile. That she was fragile and that she was so little and she didn't understand what was happening to her and around her. And she was still in this bubble that we were trying to,
Protect her.
protect her from from something that we couldn't protect her from it or stop
Yeah.
it from happening to her. We developed an overzealous approach to shielding her from social gatherings and normal childlike activities outside the home. We became
Yeah.
paranoid and oversensitive. If anyone mentioned her condition or tried to give us advice, we were still in denial for such a long time. It was difficult. We just didn't want to talk about it. My husband and I would talk about it, but we just didn't want to share with the outside world.
Mm.
It took like a whole year and a half for me to try and
Wrap
overcome.
your head around.
We
Was
were
it was
emotionally broken.
was that because you felt that the world would be judgmental? Was that because you felt like just unsure of the territory, and
Mm,
that's why you almost reclused as a family?
definitely, I felt that we were going to be judged
Mm,
as parents, that maybe I didn't do something right in my pregnancy. It was just so many things that went through my mind at that time. Was
of
I
course.
too stressed? What, did I not take my vitamins on time? Did I maybe sit in an uncomfortable position? Because I had no idea as to what would have caused this. She was totally fine at birth. She would give us eye contact, because that's a major thing in autism, is that children lose eye contact. She would hear her name when we would call her, and so we were
There
in
were
a
no
critical
telltales. Yeah.
space, and people are so quick to judge, and instead of understanding, it was so difficult. And I thank God for my husband, because he was so much more stronger than me, maybe
Mm,
within his own personal breakdown, but in front of us he held us together. He was truly the calm in the storm, that
mm.
we couldn't stop. He was every trying time, and it changes you and your family dynamic, changes you as partners as well as a husband and wife, because your focus has shifted, and you've got to be there, because if you're not there, who's going to be there?
You were touching on, you didn't want to be out in public. You wanted to try and mollycoddle her or protect her more as well as yourselves. It took you over a year and a half to really come to terms with the diagnosis. How has the caregiving reshaped your relationships with your friends and your family and your partner?
So my daughter's condition has not only reshaped our family, but it's definitely changed how and when we interact with the extended family and friends.
When
Because,
even?
yes, even when. So we can't always do a lunch in a restaurant during the
Mm,
day with friends, because overstimulation, it's a sensory processing. Occasions with loud music, such as weddings or birthday parties that would have bright lights or excessive crowds, new faces, all contribute to an heightened anxiety levels and state of confusion for her. So we
sure.
really do limit our interaction with those external to our immediate family circle. And that, when I say immediate family circle, I mean, because we're living here, that would just be my husband and my son and then myself. But my son is an incredible older brother to his sister. He's ever so protective, he's so kind, and he's so patient with her. So between my husband, my son, and myself, we accommodate my daughter in so many facets of a social interaction,
Mm.
just to ensure her comfort and a peace of mind, and that she is seen, she is heard, and she is loved.
And how has it changed with friends because you're living out here? So your children obviously know they're South African, they're from Johannesburg. When it comes to your family, how does your family handle the news of their granddaughter or cousin having autism?
Oh, that was quite difficult on them. They themselves didn't know much about autism or what it entailed. I think fear crept in because they didn't know what will happen to her.
Yeah.
They were very supportive at times. They understood if we couldn't join certain events or social settings. Our parents really did try to accommodate us when we
Mm.
visited, or they'd visit us.
And you
So
almost have to teach them how, not how to be around her, but you have to teach them about autism and about what this condition entails. So, in
yes,
essence, you almost become an advocate of autism.
yes, definitely. So you really have to teach them that her screams were meltdowns, because that's something that she battled with, is not a tantrum. It's
Mm.
because she can't process what's happening around her at the time, or her sensory towards food or touch. She wouldn't want to hold or hug people, or she wouldn't want to have a conversation. So it was difficult. I mean, grandparents on their own look forward to grandkids,
Yeah.
because Their time as parents is done, and now they have this free time to shower their grandkids with love and attention. It was something that they couldn't do with her, but at least they got to do with my son. So it was challenging.
And Avash, you did mention that you had immigrated about 3 years ago to Qatar, and that alone in itself can be quite a challenge just on its own. I mean, for my husband and I, we had no idea what we were walking into in Doha. We had no expectations. We were planning on only being here for 2 years. We're 8 years in. But what was it like with a special needs child when you transition, not only getting the diagnosis, but moving from your home country to a foreign land?
I think with any big move, such as moving to a new country, it comes with fear and anxiety. And when you have a special needs child, you have to multiply those feelings and emotions by 100. So it was the fear around uncertainty and the anxiety around your family trying to adapt in a foreign land.
Every move is hard. But imagine doing it with a child who needs structure, calm, and familiarity. This is where resilience becomes daily life.
Choosing a new school, finding new therapists, trying to create a new routine, but also trying to provide a safe and calm environment for your child and your family
Mm.
is overwhelming, but it has to be done. So
Yeah.
our move from South Africa to Qatar was initially quite challenging at first because we were also just trying to find our feet and trying to adapt. But once we sorted all those key aspects out, we found our rhythm. It was smooth sailing from there. I must say that the special needs community here in Qatar is absolutely amazing. From
That's
the schools to the doctors to the inclusiveness that is shown towards special needs kids is absolutely phenomenal. I All I can say is that relocating here has been one of the best moves for my family, and I could have ever made. So there's so much of acceptance and understanding and knowledge here, and it's amazing. It's truly amazing.
So, when you actually did the move, how did you break it to your children that you were going to move? How did you approach your daughter, and how did she take it that she was going to move?
With my daughter, her school, so I informed them about 3 months in advance that she will be leaving the school, and they were absolutely brilliant
Yeah.
because they started getting her ready on their own. They made picture books for her to show her that you're moving from here, even showed her a map. You're moving from here to there, and they showed her like how she'd be moving with what kind of transportation. So, going in
Oh,
an aeroplane, they prepped her in terms of getting into an aeroplane.
that can be quite intense. Just a
It
plane ride.
is. Never taken her on a plane, and this was going to be the first time ever. And this
Wow.
was what, a 7, almost 8 hour flight. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I spoke to her therapist, and they were like, okay, I'm going to give you something that has melatonin in it. And as soon as the lights go off in the plane, she's going to knock off. And
Hmm.
together with that book, and I was anxious on this plane because I didn't know how to deal with it. But thank God for this airline, Qatar Airways,
Yeah,
being the airline that we used. They were so accommodating,
that's
and they
good.
knew already that my daughter was autistic, and they came to us and they reassured us that everything's going to be fine on the flight. However, if we do need extra assistance, please don't hesitate to give us a shout. But it was a bit of a journey for 3 months prior, that we had to prep the kids in terms of moving and then deciding what we're going to take and what we're going to leave behind. My son was quite okay with it. He was excited because, I mean, prior to that, we stayed without my husband for a good, what, 14 months till we officially made the move over. So my son was just so happy that he was going to have his family together,
Oh,
his mom and his dad together, and he's not going to be without his dad anymore, because my
yeah.
husband was on the side. He had to work, and more than anything, I needed him to ensure that he was comfortable here, and this is the
Yes.
right place for
Because
him,
you
the
didn't
right
want to make the
job.
move and then it wasn't the right move, you know?
Yes, and I
Yeah.
felt he needed to adjust as well in this new job, in this new country, new environment. I mean, it's difficult, it's challenging.
Yeah.
So we allowed him that space, and then once he was ready, We said, okay, now's the time. But never did I expect what I expected when I got here. The fact that there's such brilliant schools, and every place you take kids to is so inclusive. I mean, you could take her to the bounce,
Mm,
and there are people there that understand your child and the benefits that you get with kids that have special needs, and that there is no waiting in line
yeah,
for children with special needs. They understand this child's predicament and they allow them to go ahead, and there's no judgment from their part.
fantastic.
And even the parks, I feel we have more of a family life here with us being a family. We have access to parks, it's safe, access to the beach, and doing stuff outdoors as well as some indoors. But it's absolutely wonderful.
And did you
Yeah.
feel you had to step into an advocate role right away? And how has your voice as a mom evolved?
So initially, no, I think because I myself wasn't sure until I had to research and understand her diagnosis. But
Mm,
initially, yes, it broke me for, like I said, for a whole year and a bit. I didn't
yeah,
want to share or want to socialize with family and friends. And family and friends just couldn't believe it.
mm,
But they showed so much of understanding, empathy, as well as, in a way, sympathy towards my situation. But they understood that I need my space and my family needs my space to deal with this. So like I said, I didn't share, want to socialize with family and friends. My focus at that time was to ensure that my daughter had all that she needed at her disposal within her home. I mean,
yeah,
we went out and we got a play gym put outside for her, like with a swing and a ladder and a slide and things that she could do outside our home. We also got stuff for our pool back home so that she could enjoy being in the pool, and different things within the house like a sensory swing, so
yeah,
our to make her comfortable at home. So my daily routine for that year and a half was work, back home, see to her and her needs in the evening, and then over weekends our attention was solely focused on her. There was
yeah.
We socially withdrew, and that was driven by a sense of blame because we felt
Mm,
that we were to blame for a condition. Because, like I said, we didn't research this. We thought, okay, it was all on us. We did something. As much as people say, it's not you, it's not the
it's
parent,
not,
it is just the way their brain develops. You still feel that guilt. And
of course.
I mean, as a mom, you are responsible for safeguarding your unborn child. So when you receive a diagnosis like this, you then automatically think back to
What
try
you
and
did.
identify any factors that may have contributed towards this.
Yeah,
However, as time progressed, I became much braver to share with others.
good.
And what triggered this was a lot of research, support groups, social media. And I realized I am not alone in this. And we are all trying to help these kids and share our experiences. And that helped a lot. I came out of that bubble and I said, this is it. You can't hide from it any longer. If you
Mm,
embrace it, others will as well. And I became strong and I realized that I need to be an advocate, spread awareness, but at the same time support other parents that are on a similar journey. And being here in Qatar, and I will touch a bit on it later, there's
yeah.
been a phenomenal amount of support. I mean, we had my daughter's school champion a wonderful initiative at the Monoprix shopping, the shopping outlet, the one at the DFC mall, because they have introduced sensory friendly hours. They have special needs. They have it during the day, every day. There is about, I think, about a 2 hour gap where they convert their store to be more sensory friendly. They would dim the lights. They have staff that are like special needs trained that can assist
Wow.
kids that are feeling overwhelmed. They have introduced a sensory corner so moms or parents can do shopping whilst knowing that their child is
Are
seen
taken
to.
care of. I love how Navash turns pain into purpose. She didn't just adapt, she educated, she connected, she made space for others to breathe a little easier.
And I thought, wow, that is such a huge
It
um,
is.
accomplishment
Initiative.
and initiative. And I was so grateful. And I had the privilege of speaking that morning when they did the launch at that store. And you could see they really want to create an inclusive environment for kids that have special needs, not only autism, but kids that may have other special needs. So it was absolutely amazing.
I knew something was going on with the monoperiod DFC. I had seen signs about it. I'd seen it on social media. I did not know, I didn't understand the impacts. And this is what I think society doesn't realize is the impact that just a normal trip to a grocery store that we take for granted can be a very big trigger for
I-
somebody that is
It
dealing with
is.
that.
It
Yeah.
definitely is. I mean, up until now, it's still a difficult task at times
Mm,
to take her because it could be the lights. They're so
yes.
sensitive to
The
lights, the
sound. Yeah.
noise, the sound, the
Mm,
unfamiliar faces. They're trying to regulate their body in an
all the
unfamiliar
time.
space. And it can be difficult at times, but that's where I take off my hat to a school because they're really trying to create outings for kids to become used to this sort of a thing, and
Yes.
better their daily living experiences. So
Yeah.
there's a lot being done behind the scenes in terms of schooling today and how that and to show how kids can be accepted into the bigger frame of things and into this world that we perceive as normal, where we
It's
have so many
fantastic
kids
they're
that
doing that.
so neurodivergent.
Yeah,
Mm.
because I actually watched it on Netflix. They have Love on the Spectrum.
Oh,
And have you
what
watched it? I binged it. It just showed how they integrated into daily life is so important for them because they are part of our society. And it
exactly.
should be made normal for them to go and date and get jobs and find friends and be independent and live on their own. But you touched on something, Navash, where you said their body is constantly going through sensory. I
Mm.
want to talk about your body. If your body could speak right now, Navash, as a mom, what would it say about the impact of caregiving on your health? Because we do often talk about their health, but we often forget about the caregiver.
My body and mind would say I need a time out or an
Mm.
extra long holiday. And that's why I am so grateful to my husband and my son for the support that they give us, and especially me, and taking on some of the responsibilities from time to time. I mean,
Yeah.
taking care of a child with special needs impacts your physical, your mental, and emotional well being. It's so challenging because,
Yeah.
you physically have to be there in the moment for her. You have to have the right mindset. So mentally, you've got to be there. So you can't be dwelling on something that upsets you because you're trying to create a positive and a warm environment. So whatever is troubling you at this point, you need to put it in file 13 and deal with it at a later stage.
File 13, I haven't heard that in ages.
Exactly.
So, for all the listeners that don't know, and I'm not sure if this is something around the world, but in South Africa, when we say you put it in file 13, you throw it away. You put it in a trash can or a dustbin
Yes, until you're ready to deal with it,
until you're ready to deal with it.
And
I
then
haven't heard
it's
file
your
13 in ages. Hmm.
really, and it's your emotional well-being. You've got to
Yes.
be present for her,
Mm.
and she's always on the go because she does have ADHD. So she's always on the go, and things that would that you would set out for her would interest her for a little bit of time. So just to give you a bit of a understanding of ADHD, ADHD is an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it's the most common mental disorders that affect children today. So, symptoms of ADHD sometimes include inattention, so they're not being able to focus, they're hyperactive, which has excessive movement, and it's not fitting into the setting, and they're also impulsive, they're hasty, and
Oh,
they have hasty acts that occur in the moment without thought. So, something like crossing the road. We've
yeah.
had to teach her, you've got to look right and left and right again. But
Mm.
like before that, she would just want to run
Yeah.
across the road, and that was it. So it takes its toll. So yeah, my body has taken a beating. I won't lie. My mind
Mm.
has taken a beating, but I wouldn't change it for the world. And I'm grateful for the time that we have together as a family. And I'm thankful for the support that I have from my husband and my son. They take on
Amazing.
such a huge role, and their
Yeah.
dedication towards our family. It helps me a lot because even if it's half an hour to myself, it means the world to me.
It's the half an hour you
Yes,
didn't have. Yeah.
it is.
And I mean, those are the challenges that you are all facing as a family. But
Mm.
amid the challenges, what are the little sparks of joy your child brings that keep you going?
Oh, I could go on and on and on about it, but it's her warm hugs and her big kisses. Oh, and her infectious laugh. It's her way of showing love and saying thank you. I mean, she is verbal now. She can
Fantastic.
say words. She can, and that is the exciting part. And sometimes she
Mm,
uses the right phrase in the right context. And now, after this long journey, I mean, we still have a long way to go, but seeing her calm and collected and peaceful brings us so much of joy. And it also
mm.
reaffirms that she feels the love, she feels the care, and that we are doing something good and that she sees us. It amazes me at times to witness her emotional intelligence through
Yeah.
all her chaos. I mean, there are times when I feel overwhelmed and she comes over to me to give me the biggest hug just to
Oh,
reassure me that everything's going to be okay. I
you're
see
doing
you,
a good job,
Mom. I
Mom. Yeah.
understand you, Mom. It's like she senses uneasiness in the room and
Yeah.
she tries to bring in that quirky laugh just to make us all happy again. So, those are the little things. Watching her grow, watching her develop, and
Yeah.
slowly trying to adjust into a family routine and family life with us. So that's the
Absolutely.
amazing part.
It's so good. And you've spoken about the support you've gotten through the school, your
Mm.
husband, your son, and even the grocery store outlet. You were speaking about all the support you get through those, and that's where you found your support. But where do you still wish there was more support for caregivers and for people that are dealing or raising and rearing children with special needs?
I think first and foremost, like I said, we were very apprehensive in the beginning, very scared. We didn't really want to share it. And family and close friends play such a major role. And all
Mm,
of them, they don't always understand what is happening. And I think with them, it starts with them, support parents. I mean, in my case, we've received so much of support from our family, her teachers, her therapists, and fellow parents at a school. You get so much of support as well from events relating to special needs. Social media is a big one. But yeah, and support groups that I've joined because it's unbelievable the amount of support groups that you have here in Qatar that is there to help parents, to give them advice, to navigate, to tell them where to get stuff for their kids and where to take them out on trips that, kids where special needs kids are going to be, where they're going to feel included and where they're going to have good times. And so I think where I wish there was more support is yeah is for from family and close friends because they
yeah,
typically play a major role in your lives.
of course. And they are the first points of call for social interaction outside
Yeah,
of the school.
outside
Yeah.
of the school and support groups. But my ultimate hope for the future is for society to evolve to a state of total acceptance and understanding with an unwavering support to encourage a
Mm,
sense of belonging for these kids. When my daughter evolves into adult, I want her to receive the support in terms of social acceptance,
mm.
employment opportunities, that
Yes.
best suit her and sustain her. I think the biggest fear for any parent that has kids with special needs, and especially I know for my husband and myself, is that who will care for them, who
Yeah.
will love them, who will support them, and who will be there for them when we no longer are on this earth or when we are unable to do it.
Yeah.
So you pray that society is a bit kinder and a bit more patient for them. I think that is the biggest fear
Of
parents
course.
have.
And if the world paused to really hear caregivers, what would you want them to understand?
That caring for a special needs child is challenging on its own, and that support and understanding is needed, not judgment and not criticism. And
Yeah.
society must evolve and learn to accept these special individuals as they are, and at the
Mm.
same time, understand what caregivers and parents are going through.
True.
A simple smile, hello, high five, how are you doing? These are simple gestures, but it
Mm.
really goes a long way.
It's very
Society
true.
needs to promote positivity around understanding these absolutely unique individuals, which in
Yeah.
turn it creates a mindset of tolerance, of patience, and empathy. Empathy for the caregivers, empathy for the child.
That's where
So
it is. I do feel that Netflix show, we need to see more of that, not just in the space of relationships and love, but I'd love to see more, like you were saying, it's on social media because we live in a time where social media does have an impact, it does have influence, and bringing awareness to these things is very important. And hearing, or rather watching that show, Love on the Spectrum, I fell in love with all those individuals. And they were extremely smart and they have something to offer the world. They have something to give. And they are extremely, I think they're more intelligent than most of the people that are
they
normal.
they are. You have, that's
Yeah.
why it's a spectrum, because no two children are the same. You could be on any part of that spectrum, and you could have a child that's completely nonverbal, but he's a
Mm,
brilliant artist. Child that can't read but can play the piano beautifully.
brilliantly.
Really,
It's not a case of that they're not intelligent. It's just a case that they, like you were saying in the beginning of this conversation, they perceive the world differently.
I mean, you
Yeah.
look at that one show that I think it's called The Good Doctor.
Yes. He's autistic.
He's autistic, but he's a
Yeah.
savant. Not all
Yeah.
kids have that, but he can see things that we don't. And it's amazing. Some are telepathic. I mean, I
Yeah.
was listening recently to the telepathic tapes. It is such a winner. Children can read or understand their parents and what their parents are thinking of without even having a conversation. So it's amazing.
Fascinating. Yeah.
It's fascinating. It's fascinating.
Navash, you are the epitome of the hidden work of love. Because,
Thank
like I
you.
say, when I first met you, I had no idea that you had a special needs child. You hold yourself with such grace and you're teaching us. And I want to thank you so much for bringing us into your world and shedding light on a topic that I think is so important. Thank you for
Thank
sitting
you.
with me today and for sharing all these vulnerable points. And I want to commend you, your husband, your son, and your daughter for being pillars of strength and for really showing up in the world and not hiding away. And as
Oh,
difficult as it was, it's a huge honor to have had you on the podcast.
thank you so much, Lexi, for having me and for helping me
Absolutely.
get the word and awareness.
Yes.
It's truly appreciated.
Caregiving isn't a title, it's a way of loving. Whether you're a partner, a parent, or professional, this month is for you. Thank you for showing up every single day, even when no one's watching. You're the quiet architecture of hope, and your work matters. Thank you for being part of the Anatomy of Life community. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review. It helps people find the show, or share it with a friend who would love it too. For all the caregivers in the world, keep extending grace to yourself in the moments that nobody sees. Keep honoring the quiet strength it takes to show up and care, and love through the hard days. Keep remembering that the work you do, seen or unseen, matter deeply. And may you always return to spaces and people that refill you. If you know of a caregiver, share this episode with them. Remind them all of the above. And here is to your health.